This is Matchweek. You are joined by myself, Artie Amini. We discuss everything soccer from the highs and the lows in the sporting week to the news that is relevant to you. Welcome back. This is Match Week. Guys, hey, look, you see this? We're not online. We're not in the WMSC studio. Where are we? I want to know. Am I in a dungeon? Am I locked in a cave? No, I am very thankful to have Bardi's Bar and Grill be sponsoring the podcast now, to let us host the podcast here, shoot in person, so that way it doesn't seem like a mechanical type interview of like X, Y, and Z, whereas now I have people face to face with me. I look at them, we record, we talk, and we have a fun time. So today, who am I joined by? I'm joined by Granit Dervishi. Granit, let's say what's up.
Hey guys, how are you?
Great. Granit, now, here's the thing. Why did I bring you on today? Could you explain?
Because you're my best friend. You're my buddy.
I was going to... That was like the time to like make you a credible type of interviewer, you know? So, Granit, why did I bring you on today?
Well, you know, my love for the sport, FC Barcelona is also, you know, my top team. And I think we got some important topics to hit today on it.
For sure. Now, guys, today is the How to Fix Barcelona, all right? We're going to figure out ways to reconstruct and fix the team with the struggle that it's in right now, because we did this with Manchester United. You guys liked it. It did really well. I've been testing out other types of theories and also like videos, and this is the one that's been hitting the most so far. So today, How to Fix Barcelona. So where do we start? Now, Granit, you're as a Barcelona fan. Tell me, what is the main goal of the team most of the time? Like, what do we expect from a Barcelona?
Well, on a regular season, Barca fans expect the most, right? Treble is the minimum that we would need. Obviously, we haven't gotten there since 2015, I believe it was. But, you know, the treble is what we expect. La Liga, Copa del Rey, and obviously the Champions League. Obviously, that's changed over these last couple seasons, and especially this season. That's changed dramatically.
Yeah, so as of December 30th, the day we're recording, where is Barcelona in the table?
I think they're 7th, 8th,
Yep.
9th in the table.
They're
around there.
7th in the league. This is unheard of for Barcelona. Usually it's like disgraceful if they're third place.
100%. Last season was considered a failure, and I think we came in third place.
Yeah.
Which to many clubs, you know, that would be a success to them.
Now, here's the thing. For current goals right now, for expectations, we're thinking of what is the best way to do this for them. So, is top 4 success right now? Is that what we see as success?
I think top 4 we can definitely get. Obviously, there's with Xavi as a new manager, a lot of the players that are coming into the squad. We've had a little unluck with, you know, a lot of players testing positive for COVID-19, you know, injuries and all that. Currently, we don't even have a full 11. Like, we only have 9 outfield players, and then 3 of our goalies, right, for the first team. So then, you know, we're going to have to rely heavily on our Barca B squad and, you know, the younger boys. But I think top 4 could be realistically a possibility. But I think we would have to also look into the chances of, you know, possibly looking to win the Europa League to just make the Champions League next season.
Yeah, for sure, because that's the thing that was being explored now, right? Because usually Barcelona, again, like unexpected, they make it to the round of 16 every time for the Champions League. Like, if you're going to any sports book and you're making a bet, you're betting on Barcelona making it to the round of 16 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, even with, you know, Messi leaving the squad and all of that, I didn't think we weren't going to advance the group stages. I knew we were going to get second, and, you know, I expected heavier losses against Bayern. I think 3-0 was light. You know, we've lost 8-2 to them before, 7-0 on aggregate to them before with much better teams, right? And then with this squad, we only lost 3-0 on both legs in the group stages. So I think that was a good win for us. I didn't expect a 3-0 defeat against Benfica, and then but that's where we're currently stand at. We got third place, Europa League. As much as I wish to say that I think we're gonna win it, there's still good teams out there, and the way we're playing, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah. So how would you value the Europa League? 'Cause as a United fan, we had a couple stints in the Europa League. We won it at one time. We choked in the final last season, if I'm not mistaken. And it is a bit of a, hey, it's European competition. At least we have something. Let's strive for something. It's good for the mentality. But when it comes down to it, as like a Barca fan, because this is uncharted waters, right? Would the Europa League mean something to you this season? Because what do you think is more possible, Barca winning the Europa League or Barca getting top 4?
I think realistically, Barca getting top 4, because that Europa League, especially when you get into the elimination stages, just same as Champions League. A lot of times it's all about form, right? So it doesn't matter if you're the better team on paper. It's who's ever in form at the time, and you'd only get so many chances. Whereas the league, I think we can consistently be better than at least some of the other teams. Maybe not get first or second, as I think Real and Atletico are likely going to duel for that those two spots, but at least at 4th.
So for Barcelona, because the thing is that if you guys get no European football, if you guys don't get top 4 for La Liga, there's a lot of money lost there, right? And we know that the finances have been the biggest issue for Barcelona because of how poorly they've been ran. So here's the thing. If Barcelona did not have these financial issues, do you think they'd be going through this rut? Because personally, from what I've seen for the team, I don't think it's only been the money that's been the problem. I think the whole structure has been the problem.
I agree. I think the financial burden that the club has been facing plays only a part. I think the players that we've been signing over the years just aren't the fit, right? I feel like we've left the Johan Cruyff Barca philosophy and went to like the Real Madrid Galacticos and just buy like heavy stars. Right? We sold Neymar for a record transfer, and I think we only bought 2 players with that, right?
Yeah, that you spent it on Coutinho and Dembele. That was it. Yeah,
exactly. So like, I feel like we've walked away from La Masia, and that La Masia brought us the Messi, the Xavi, Iniesta, Puyol, Busquets, and the rest of the golden era.
Yeah, for sure. So now, going into the Barca team, right? Because obviously when we talk about the finances, it goes into every single stage of this discussion. Whereas for other teams, we usually break it down piece by piece. So for Barca, let's talk about this. So first step is going to be best lineup right now, because we know traditional Barca, they play a 4-3-3. Yeah. So that in that 4-3-3, here's who I have down as the best players to start. So for goalkeeper, Ter Stegen, obviously, right? Even though
100%.
Even though he's been in a rut lately, I think that's because, as a lot of top goalkeepers, besides your Edisons or Alissons, a lot of them will forget the basics and only focus on the extraordinary, right? Same thing happened with De Gea, but now he's somewhat back this season. We see this with Neuer. Neuer, he went from, guaranteed best keeper in the world to a 2-season break of figuring himself out again through injuries and stuff. And then we also saw this through a Jan Oblak, who had a very small blip. I would say even a 4-month blip.
Yeah.
So then I'd see Ter Stegen as the goalkeeper. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of bash against him, but also and this hasn't been recent, but Barca's always had trouble with their defense, and they've never really properly invested into it. So goalies have a fault up to a certain point, but if you're getting shots at 20 times, he can't save all 20 shots, right? So I think he's our best pick. He knows our philosophy. He's played with the team for years now, and he's still relatively young. So I think I like to put faith in Ter Stegen as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then now when we go on to the defense, right? Defense, you have Jordi Alba, Lenglet, Araujo, who I thought was a good purchase, and Sergio Dest. Now, out of that defense, how many of these guys are injured? Tell me.
To my knowledge, Alba, I think just recently tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
Sergi Dest, I don't think he's injured. I think he's coming back from injury. Rayo, he's been a star. He's relatively young. I agree, great talent. He's scored a lot of our goals recently too, right? So that's great. He's tall. And Lenglet, I mean, he's had his own troubles. You don't see PK in that lineup. I think a star there is Eric Garcia, very young center back. Possibly, him and Ariario team up down the road. Remember, the goal here is not to invest in like superstars. It's to grow our own talent and go back to.
Well, here's the thing: like Eric Garcia, he was a Barcelona graduate, if I'm not mistaken, and then he got sold to City. And then now City's loaning him back out, which seems to be a common theme with Barca. They let a lot of their academy guys go, and then now they're trying to get them back because they've seen a mistake with letting them go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, where we have to kind of like, reinvest back into La Masia. And maybe some of these players can't make it to the first team, then, loaning them out to Manchester City or like to another big football club is the better idea, where they can get playing time.
Yeah, but
where they can develop.
The issue we see, though, is that it's supposed to be a loan. That's what they should be doing, is the best option. But then again, we see them constantly just not loaning, they're just selling. Because they're so desperate for money, instead of loaning it out and asking for a loan fee, they keep selling their players consistently.
Yeah, in a real world, in the perfect world, we should be loaning them out, right? Yeah. But like with just the financial burden that we have, and that we currently still have, right? Like, we're still not out of the water with it, right? With our finances and all of that stuff. So like, we're gonna have to, sell at whoever we can. And it's going to be a detriment to La Masia for the next probably couple of years, where we have to sell some of our young players. Whereas, in a good world, if they're not ready for that first team promotion, then we loan them out to another big football club, let them develop, get experience, exposure there, and then bring them back when they're ready. I mean, Fabregas is a great example. Granted, we didn't loan him out. He was a La Masia graduate. He played at Arsenal, Chelsea, big clubs, won very important titles, came back to Barcelona, didn't do as well as he should have, but I mean, that's also Barca's fault too.
I think because he's how he's played, right? Because if you play in a midfield with Xavi and Iniesta, you're playing in front of them. You're not playing behind them.
Correct.
Like, you have to play as like a cam somehow, even though that's nothing of what Fabregas is, right? And that's where he sort of struggled, but still played the role to the best of his ability, right?
Exactly.
You wouldn't want anyone else being there, realistically.
Correct, and I know he would be subbed in when Messi was going through his injuries around that time, so he would be playing in Messi's position, and that's just not who Fabregas is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not on him. He's a fantastic player. I just think we mismanaged him, just like we've mismanaged many players, even current players on the squad too. So,
yeah, for sure. Now here's the thing, going to the midfield, right? So Frankie de Jong guaranteed,
amazing,
in my opinion.
Great talent.
Pedri guaranteed.
Young star.
Now I put Puig on my list, right? But I was torn between him and Gavi, and I didn't know who was going to be staying at the club longer, because I think Gavi's the better player, but I think Barca might want to try and sell him just because of the financial disarray they're in. But I do think Gavi, even though he's younger than Puig and a better player overall, I don't know if Barca can afford to keep him. And they're saying the same thing about Frankie de Jong.
Yeah, I mean, Frankie de Jong, love the player. Great talent, great asset to the club, great transfer, to be honest. One of Barca's few good transfers over these years. Pedri, he just won, I think, Young Footballer of the Year.
He played, if I'm not mistaken, he played 75 games in the past calendar year.
And he's just like hungry to play for more, like, right? He comes back short from vacation, wants to be available to the squad. He's a great talent. I think we should be more careful of how we manage him. We don't want any of our players to be burnt out, especially at that age. Granted, he's still far from being burnt out. Footballers nowadays play tons of games, ridiculous amounts of games, especially if you're at a top football team. You're playing friendlies in Asia or coming to North America, and all of these friendlies over the summer. You have your national team commitments and all of that. and then obviously you were fighting for all the trophies in Europe. So there's always going to be matches there. Pedri is great. Gavi, very impressive. I prefer him over Puig right now, only because of his stints when he's played against Bayern recently.
Mm-hmm.
Great player. I hope we don't sell him. I think great, midfield trinity down the road would be Pedri, Gavi, and then Nico Gonzalez playing as the CDM.
Yeah.
He's currently in our Barca B squad. He's been called up a few games, but he's not fully on the first team. And I think that could be the, not that I don't want to dub it the next Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, but I think that trinity of midfield can grow into something.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you on that, and I don't think there's a disagreement there. The midfield is tough to always talk about because of the expectations that were left from certain players that they had, and it's always tough to replace something that's considered like a gem, right? The jewel in the king's crown. It's always going to be tough to find that replacement. So I think Barcelona's midfield, if everyone's healthy, I do think that it still needs some work. I think it is missing one player. Now going into the attack, right? So I don't think your whole entire attack has been healthy. Sergio Aguero just retired because of heart arrhythmia, if I'm not mistaken. It was a heart issue, and he was supposed to be considered like the guy to help out while Messi was gone, right? And then now
get those goals.
He's no longer an option. You have Memphis Depay operating on his own. So usually your best front three right now should be a Depay, Fati, and Dembele. Dembele last season I think was his best season for Barcelona in a long time. He was doing really well, but then again, it's always his injury issues with him. He's always injured. He's never healthy enough for the team. And then we have Fati, it's his first couple of injuries he's picked up.
Yeah.
So I would be a little bit worried, but he is still young, so I do have faith. He is a Barcelona Youth Academy graduate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then Memphis Depay, phenomenal player, came from Lyon, before Lyon United. Before United, he came from PSV, if I'm not mistaken. He was definitely in the Eredivisie, I know that for a fact. And at United, I knew he was a talent, but it was sad to see him leave. At Lyon, he showed the world why he should have been a starter at United. And then now at Barcelona, he is sort of like the best player there for them, right? Because you really only have him and De Jong really carrying any type of creativity or attack in that team.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Aguero was supposed to be there to cover those goals, bring that experience that he gained over his career, cover those holes try to cover those holes that Messi left. And it's unfortunate the way his retirement went out. But obviously, we all wish him best of luck in his career.
Here's my question, though, right? You brought in a Sergio Aguero, like 33 years old. He's a good player, but you had that player in Luis Suarez. So why would you let Luis Suarez go to Atletico, where he absolutely went mental? And I think, he was top goal scorer last season.
The season after we let him go, he was a top goal scorer and led Atletico to La Liga. Yeah,
so you had that already in your team. So I was just confused of why Barcelona decided that would be a good idea. Someone who's already been in the Barca ranks, friendly with everybody, knows the whole team. So where do you think the thinking was there?
I don't think there was much. It goes back to mismanagement by the board, right?
Yeah.
I think the Suarez transfer was just, it wasn't a smart play. Sure, Suarez had his dips in the last probably couple games as a Barca player, but I mean that just regular in a player. He obviously shows and continuously shows now in this season that he's still a threat. He could still score goals. He scored against us when Atletico beat us, right? And his famous call signal to signal to how he was let go by Barca's then coach Koeman, kind of significant, enlightens, kind of puts a light on Barca's just recent history of just terrible trades in the past. 10 years ago, the worst trade in Barca was probably Ibrahimovic trade, right? A great player. I love Ibra,
the
right?
fact that you guys had let him go for, at the time it was either him or Leo Messi, right?
Yeah.
And obviously we know.
Yeah, but it's just the whole the way that trade happened and all that, that was still like one of the worst trades, right? And now it's like every season it just tops it, and and it's just mismanagement. I think that's a reason why we let Suarez go. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was for free too.
Yeah,
like I don't even think we sold him for any transfer fee or anything, which makes it even worse.
That's the thing. I think it was a pre-contract agreement, or if it was a loan of some sort. Either way, there was some tomfoolery about where it shouldn't have ever happened.
Yeah,
it really.
And then I think the Aguero trade was to bring him in to cover the Suarez, right? I think people probably realized, okay, we shouldn't have let Suarez go, so let's bring another top striker. And then there was hopes that, hey, we're going to still sign Lionel Messi, right? And then you'll have Aguero and Messi together. You know, they play on the national team, so they have that connection. Aguero has, great experience, so he can help the Ansu Fatis, and, you always need some older generation players to, like, lead the new generation. I think that's a huge reason why we signed Dani Alves, right? He's like in his mid-30s, I believe. He's done everything that he could. I think he's the most awarded player. He's won the most titles in the sport. And I think his goal is to kind of be the leadership or help the leadership in the locker room and to help the young talent develop. So I think that was also a play there for Aguero. It just, this past summer with the Messi fallout, and then, how Aguero's transaction kind of worked out with, him retiring, it just kind of, nothing went our way.
Yeah, for sure. Now, to move on to a topic that involves a team, right? So the only way this starting 11 can do well is if the manager's there with them, right? So you got rid of Koeman out.
Yep.
He wasn't really the best option, but Xavi, I'm still have a little bit of my reserves on.
Same here.
I mean, don't get me wrong, phenomenal player, one of the
Amazing.
best midfielders to ever play.
Agree.
Him and Iniesta, best duo. But where do we see, like, what is his expectations, right? What do we expect from Xavi? Do we expect him to get all these titles for you guys as a manager, or do we expect him to do something different?
Yeah, when there was initially rumors that Xavi will, take over, I was kind of a little reserved. Like, sure, one of the best players in the world, in history, played his job brilliantly, especially alongside Iniesta and Busquets, that holy trinity of midfield. A very smart and talented player. It's just I was reserved only because Barca is in such a dire situation right now that we need an experienced coach to kind of pull us out of it. And like Xavi doesn't have that experience yet at that high level. But what I think, so that was a con for me, that where I was like kind of like maybe not Xavi's the best, right now. Down the road, sure, but probably not now. What I think now, though, a pro of having him on is he brings that Johan Cruyff mentality back. He brings that passion to be a Barca player, a Barca fan back. He brings that La Masia investment back, right? He brings that trust in younger players back. So, like, he brings a lot of this back. And I think that's the expectation. I don't think any sensible Barca fan has any intention of actually competing against the Bayern Munichs or the PSGs, the Chelseas, Manchester United right now. We just don't have that capabilities. I think what right now is these next couple seasons is to just come back, invest in our young talent, which it's going that way, right? We have a lot of young 20-year-olds that are in the starting 11, even against the likes of Bayern Munich. So I think, that's the goal for these next couple seasons. It's not trophies. It's can we develop our young players, and can we bring in some older players to help them mature into the players that we think they can be.
Yeah, for sure. So when we see in a Barcelona, right, it's the two expectations for Xavi. We just sort of stabilize the team, bring everything back, fix it up, and then also bring the Barca way back. That's sort of what we want the most out of it. So, guys, real quick, we're going to take a break to hear a word from our sponsor. Can anyone take a random guess where our sponsors be?
That's a good one.
You guys got to wait and see and find out. Hello, guys. How are we doing today? I'm sorry. I know I had to stop the podcast and give you guys an ad read. Already, stop it. Look, I have something very important to tell you about, okay? We are sponsored by ITA Sports. Yes, that's right, ITA Sports. Now, you guys are wondering, what's an ITA Sports? What do they offer for you? Well, they're a local business based out of Boonton, New Jersey, where they're on Boonton Main Street, if you guys even want to check them out. And what they are is a place where you can either get some cool, different apparel than your like average Adidas or Nike, Under Armour, Puma, that jazz. And they go more with like the Arayas, the Yomas, the Hummel. And how can we forget the Umbro? Guys, they have way more to offer than I can even list off. All you have to do is go to itasportshop.com. That's itasportshop.com. itasportshop.com. And if you're a team or a business, local business, any team, they actually do wholesale apparel orders for you, as you can see on screen if you're viewing, but if you're listening, I'll describe it even better. They make apparel that is best and fitting for you, that is comfortable, and even so, sometimes the price is better than what you'll get from actually trying to get an Adidas or a Nike or anyone else. And all you have to do is just go to itasportshop.com. And then now, guys, hey, you know what? In the future, they might have some promos or some more stuff for us to give away and work with. But we have to see how we do this episode for the ad. So please go check it out. Go see it because they have really cool stuff to offer. I'll see you guys later. Bye. And we're back from our break, you know. He had to go to the bathroom. I had to get a little drink, you know. I had my water, but, you know, I was craving something a little bit different. I usually don't drink soda, but, you know, I was craving it for once.
Bar and Grill, our
I know,
Super
right?
Bowl spot.
Our Super Bowl spot. Every Super Bowl, we always come here. Well, I mean, besides last year, you wanted to watch it at your house, so you're a homeowner now.
You were at my house. You were.
I know. Yeah, I was at your house.
Yes.
You invited me because you're a homeowner. We need to be at your house to watch it.
That was not how it was supposed to come out.
Yep. He wanted to brag about the fact that he has a home in this housing market, so he had
next Super Bowl will be here again.
Yeah, we better be. So then now, guys, Bardi's Bar and Grill, great spot. Got a drink. Friday, Saturday nights, they usually have bands playing. So I mean, I don't know about this weekend because it's New Year's Eve, so don't know what's happening. But usually that's the case. So now back to the episode. We've gone from goals to manager expectations to the best XI. Now let's go into players to sell. Now I have a list.
Oh boy, the list is probably humongous.
It's large. The whole team, sell them, buy.
Just get rid of
everybody, every single person. No. So right now, here's what I have up. All right. So I have Samuel Umtiti, Luke De Jong, Philippe Coutinho, Antoine Griezmann, Francisco Trincao, and Sergio Roberto. So now, Umtiti, wages are too high. He's ridiculous. I don't think Barca should have kept him anymore. But if any teams buys him, I mean, good for Barca. They did something right for once. Luke De Jong, I think you guys put him out on loan for January because he obviously was not getting minutes. He's definitely not good enough to play for that club.
No reason. I don't understand that signing at all.
Get him out of there. Coutinho, his wages are crazy, but also Barca's never going to use him right. He performs everywhere else but Barcelona, so just get him out of there. Griezmann, his wages are too high. He's on loan in Atletico right now. Just get him out.
Disaster.
Trincao, I think he's a good player for Barca, but you guys need the money, and I think Wolves will buy him off you if they can. And then we also have Pequannock on loan at Besiktas. I think he's never been a bad player for Barcelona, but it's just time to get rid of him. Just get him out. And then you also have Sergio Roberto. I've never liked him. I don't think he's a good player. Never belonged to the Barca team. Just get him out.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the list, it's big, which is not surprising at all. Samuel Umtiti, I think he had a good first season or two. And then I don't know if it was injuries or whatnot. He kind of just fell off. And for the playing time he gets, his wages are just way too high. Especially for the, where we currently are with our finances. I think shipping him off somewhere for any transfer fee amount would be a win at this point. I know Newcastle was in the business of getting him, but, they have the money, but why would they splurge on him when I'm sure they probably have better options out there right now. Philippe Coutinho, great player. Love the player as a whole. Liverpool was amazing. No surprise that when we loaned him out to Bayern, did really, really good. I think we're just using him wrong. Again, his wages are just too high. I wish we give him more playing time to prove himself in his position. I just don't see that happening. So, eventually, I think we've kind of hurt his career in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, if we can sell him, it would be good for both parties. Who was that? Griezmann. Oh, that was that's an $80 million, €80 million euro loan.
He's a phenomenal player, but I don't think he's 120 million plus player, right? I don't think he's on that level.
Well, so before, last season and seasons before, he was the second most highest paid player behind Messi, right? And him and Messi were probably 200,000 euros difference per week, which to us that's a ton of money. But the caliber of Messi versus Griezmann. Once again, Griezmann is a great player, but his just wages were too high. Buying him for 120, and now I think Atletico at the end of the year, currently he's on loan, but I think at the end of the year Atletico has to pay us 40 million. So that's an $80 million loss.
Yeah.
And I believe we still pay his wages too. So that's on top of the amount that we've paid for him. Who else was on that list? Sergio Roberto. I think he just doesn't have a spot right now. I just don't know where I would put him. Right? Would you put him in the midfield? But even if you put him in the midfield, he wouldn't start over Frenkie de Jong. And I'd rather entrust the future of the team in the midfield to a Gavi or Pedri, right? He's not going to be playing the CDM role like Busquets or who I want, Nico Gonzalez from the Barca B team to be promoted eventually. Trincao, I mean, we can get between 20 to 30. I think it's 27 million euros or something like that Wolves would owe us if they have the option to buy him. But I know that Dembele, I mean, Sport magazine just released something out to an article today saying that Dembele signed with Juve. I don't know how true those rumors are.
Yeah, Dembele. Here's the issue. Dembele, you paid way too much from him off of Dortmund.
Agree.
And even here's the thing.
I don't think we got the full.
If Dembele was healthy, it's a different story of how exactly this would go. Right? We wouldn't be sitting here talking about him being a waste of space. If he was always healthy, I think it'd be a way, way different story of whether or not to get rid of him and the price you can ask for him. Because right now with Barca, with contract renewals, he's asking for Ballon d'Or type wages. Yeah. And when you look at a player like him, you're just thinking, why? Explain to me why you think you deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been very injury prone since we've signed him, right? He has a great talent. He's a great talent as a whole, actually. He has an even brighter future. It's just a matter of he wants to get paid right now for something that he might do down the road, right? Mm-hmm. To your point, he's asking for Ballon d'Or wages, and he's not there yet. He definitely has the potential. And sometimes watching him, for me personally, it's frustrating. But he's a great asset to the front line.
Yep.
He's super fast. And he cares, right? But so I don't know how that'll play out, right? Sometimes you'll hear, especially during every transfer window, you're close to signing, you're not close to signing, right? And especially with the Messi issue, right? Last day, our president publicly came out and said, yeah, Messi's a done deal. And then literally a few hours later, not possible, right?
Yeah.
So it's it's very hard, at least for us Barca fans, to trust everything that comes out. So even if they say talks with Dembele is going well, you never know. And I'm sure other clubs like Juve, who's been hurting since Ronaldo has left, would want a great talent too.
That's the thing, right? Barca, what worries me is that I have these lists of players, right? I think this is the best players that will command a fee that they can get some money off of.
Yeah.
But sadly, I think they're going to have to lose in a vital part to the team. Someone like a Frenkie de Jong. I think you might lose him because I don't think anyone else is going to buy these players.
Well, that's the thing is if I was Frenkie de Jong, right, obviously you're thinking about your own career, right? And if we don't make Champions League next season, what does that mean for his career? And then what happens if we don't make Champions League the next 2 seasons, right?
There we go. We're back. As you were saying.
I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, Frankie De Jong, right? So what would you do if you have all these top big football clubs coming after you, that are fighting for the Champions League, right? And are likely going to be able to either match or overpay, or not overpay, but pay you more, for chances of winning, top titles, trebles, in different leagues, or even in La Liga too, right? Like, the clubs, Barca has to be careful of the clubs that are likely going to come and poach our players, or the players that we want to keep and hold on to for a while. And not only just worry about the players that we should be looking to sell, but, like the Frankie De Jongs and, the Ansu Fatis, or you're not saying that, they leave for any reason now, but, that's always a possibility, like if we don't perform in due time, right?
That's the thing, because that, like I said, that's the only concern we see out of this Barca team, right? It's the fear of not having actual sellable assets to make the money back, and that you're going to have to let go one of your best players, which is the biggest worry. And like I said, in every topic we talk about for Barca, it's this biggest worry about finances, because we don't know if they have enough money. Now, going into finances and enough money, we got to talk about players to buy, right? And when we look at the players to buy for Barcelona, just real quick, I want to just explain the 2 possibilities. So right now, I have a list of players to buy that, if you have money to buy, but they're players that aren't 50 million plus, like they're from the 10 to 20 million price range. And then also like free transfers of players who, like they don't have any transfers coming through.
Yeah.
They are not extending their contracts. It's more so these players that are up for a pre-contract agreement in January, or you can sign on a free in the summer, right?
Summertime, yep.
So to go over players with money, my first note is not Ferran Torres. If Barcelona buys Ferran Torres, they're just digging themselves. I know, but they're digging themselves such a huge hole, because they're not desperate for an attacker like him, in my personal opinion. They're not. That's not their biggest concern right now. And spending $55 million for him, for what reason? Where are you guys getting the money from anyways to get him?
Well, that's the $1 million question, right? Right now,
that's a $55 million question.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Ferran Torres can't be registered, right? Like, this is the issue right now that Barca is facing with even free transfers, right? The reason we are able to register Dani Alves is because Agüero left. Yeah. Our wage...
well, also because, here's the thing, I know for La Liga teams, they're only allowed X amount of South American players. So Agüero had filled that one spot that was lost by Messi, and then now that Agüero's gone, Dani Alves was able to come in.
Yeah, and right now, Ferran Torres, unless we ship out and sell some other players, we can't register him as a player, right? And that's only because, our wage costs are just ridiculously high. We were in the same situation back in August. We signed Agüero, but Agüero wasn't actually registered until probably a few weeks or months, a month after, right? We didn't rush to register him because he was injured, so we didn't need him right away. But Ferran Torres, I would assume you want right away ASAP. I know Xavi really likes him. He's a young talent.
A Barcelona Youth Academy graduate. You guys sold. Yep. And now we're buying back for more money. So.
It goes back to Barca's just bad management, right? There's always, throughout this podcast, we've had like similar traits on a lot of different topics, right? It's bad management has led to the bad financial situation that we're in, which leads to just bad football on the pitch. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Ferran Torres, right now, and not only him, but any other new players, whether we buy him or the free transfers that you're about to mention, we would have to make space on our wage table for them, right? Yeah. Before we can even register them under La Liga's financial fair play. And whether Barca fans or anyone want to admit it, it's Barca's own fault. I know when the whole Messi issue came out, Barca's president and everyone else tried to put the blame on La Liga and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's just not this current Barca's board, but the previous boards. Just bad mismanagement over the years. We didn't get over here overnight, so it's just bad mismanagement on our end. And we, it's just time to instead of like point fingers, it's just time to start rebuilding back the team.
Yeah, for sure. So here's my list for if you have money and you didn't waste it on Ferran Torres. So for defense, I think there's 3 good options to bring in. For left back, because you're going to need a Jordi Alba replacement, I think Chao Henrique from AS Monaco. I think he's a solid player. He does what Jordi Alba does, but he's younger. He doesn't have the blistering pace of Jordi Alba, right? I think that's one of his biggest traits, with how fast he was able to move.
Yeah, I agree.
But he does have some speed, and he is able to adjust to the game well, which I do appreciate. His football knowledge, his football IQ is high, as you can see in games that he plays. And then I was thinking between either Lucas Verissimo or Mark Gahey, but if you go Verissimo, you're going to need to free up space for the South American limit. But Mark Gahey, if you can get him off of Crystal Palace, I don't think he's more than 20 million personally. I think Palace would love to have 20 million in the bank easy, and I don't think his wages would be expensive either. Probably 80K, 90K you could offer him. I think he would take it. Which, that's his thing. Barcelona does not. They don't know how to structure wages. They're just used to having to convince players with a lot of money, which is sad to see for a club like Barca, right? It's just the selling point should be, hey, we're Barcelona, right? It's just what a lot of teams do. So I see Mark Gahey as a phenomenal option. As we talked in last week's episode when discussing Crystal Palace and predicting where they can be, their 2 shining stars is Conor Gallagher and Mark Gahey, and I think Mark Gahey would be a great option for Barcelona to pick up.
No, and I agree. The issue with Barca, and this has been more than just these last couple seasons, has always been not buying defenders, right? Like, we've always been strengthening the midfield and mostly the attack. Ferran Torres, right? That's, a signing there, but that's an attacker signing, right? Whereas our defense, what happens when we get more injuries, right? That's always a possibility, so, whether, those players that you mentioned are great, solid players, and I wouldn't mind any of those players. It's just a matter of we've never had that philosophy of, let's let's strengthen our defense more, right? And then what happens is we don't have a solid goalie, defense, mid, and attack. We're basically trying to just outscore you.
Yeah.
At that point. And it worked then because we had the likes of Messi,
Suarez,
right? and Neymar, right? The legendary MSN, and then you had a solid midfield to control the ball and all of that and the possession, right? So it wasn't that big of an issue. But now when the goals have to be dispersed evenly amongst everyone, the midfield is still relatively young. I mean, you have Frankie de Jong trying to take lead. You have a Busquets who's getting up there with age, right? The midfield can be easily overran, as you saw against Bayern Munich, right?
Yeah.
So then that's where we need a solid defense. And unfortunately, we don't have that yet. And then that's where everyone starts putting the blame on Ter Stegen.
For sure. And then money-wise, with money, getting a midfielder, I only had one option for you guys. A guy out of Marseille, Boubacar Kamara, who I see as a solid CDM option, who I think fits the Barca DNA, right? Of that CDM who has really great deep ball progression numbers, can move with his feet, like pass the ball easily, but can defend well. I think he's one of the good options. And then we have for the attack, here's who I think is better than
attack as in like Cam, or like attack as a striker winger?
No, striker wingers.
Gotcha.
I don't think you need more midfielders because you have between Gavi, Frankie de Jong, and then also
we got Pedri, Puyig.
Yeah, exactly. So between those options, I think you're fine in the midfield with attacking as well. So I'm not worried about that. For striker/winger, I put either Giovanni Simeone, who I believe to be a great option. He's absolutely killing it in the City A right now. So I don't see, and he is also South American, so that would be a bit of a worry. But he's also someone that I believe would help alleviate a lot of the stress that Depay is going through with having to get all the goals,
Yeah.
And then the other option, if you don't want him, my baby boy, Anthony Martial. Look, I know he's not starting for Manchester United, but Manchester United has a whole bunch of problems on their own, which we can see with also the likes of Ronaldo, Greenwood, you name it. There's problems. But Anthony Martial, if you put him in the right setup, which I think Barcelona is the perfect setup for him, you will get the greatest performances out of him, and you'll see a phenomenal player, without a doubt. Would you agree?
I mean, he's a great player. I mean, he's done really well at Manchester United, but where would you put him, right? Like, would you give him that Ansu Fati role?
Well, that's the thing, right? Because he's so versatile, in my opinion. Because if you want to play with two strikers, you could put him and Depay up top, and then you have everyone else work around him, right? You have enough midfielders to do it.
Yeah.
Or if you want someone who's an all-out just winger, you could put him out left, and you'll be fine, you know? So I don't see any issues there. And there's just he's really versatile, and I don't think there's going to be an issue with trying to find a spot for him.
Yeah, I think right now what we also need up top as a striker is number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Like Depay, I don't think is that just your Suarez number 9 kind of guy.
Because Depay, he's very good at working with somebody, right?
I agree.
At Lyon, he had a Moussa Dembele, or when he first arrived, I think he was with Lacazette for like half a season, maybe. So you see that he thrives well with having someone to work off of, but he can't solely rely on one other person, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And granted, Depay has done really well. He's adjusted well with whatever he's had, right? With the resources he's been given and the players. So, you know, I'm not upset and, you know, disappointed in his performance. I'm happy with how he's been adjusting and playing, and I think he's only just improving, as is most of the players on the team. But I think what we're missing is that that traditional number 9, that just poaches the box and just waits in that
But that's also
role.
why I gave you the option of either Giovanni Simeone, who is your out-and-out striker, or Anthony Martial, who's versatile and can be a phenomenal striker as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's why those two options I felt were good with money. But real quick, before we go on into the free transfers, I need to do a quick pause because obviously we used up a lot of camera time with fixing some audio issues. So just give me one moment. Now, going on into free transfers, right? When we look at free transfers, I looked at everyone whose contract is expiring in the summer. And people who are struggling to get agreements for, you know, transfers and for certain, you know, wages and what they want. So I thought there's a really big talent pool available right now for Barcelona. So why would they not go for some of these players? So here's what I have down. So for defense, I have Rudiger or Christensen, because both of them are up for contract extensions and none of them have re-signed yet. So you can sign them on a pre-contract in January, no problem. So either or, just depending on who do you think you can get for better wages, so your wages don't go crazy. And then Mazraoui for someone who is a better for right back option, because let's say you can't get that Chao Henrique I mentioned, someone who can play left back. You could just put Sergio Dest at left back.
Yep.
And you have Mazraoui play at right back, right?
Well, I mean, we also have a young talent, Carlos Muniesa.
Yeah, I saw him, but I haven't seen enough of Barcelona play, so I couldn't say whether or not he was a good young option, right?
I mean, he is an option there, which I think we can grow into. He's not seasoned, so I agree in that aspect. I think we rely heavily now on Jordi Alba as in terms of our fullbacks. So I think we definitely need to look into like a seasoned replacement. And like I said earlier, Dani Alves, I think, was the signing there, or the mindset there was to help Xavi with the Johan Cruyff philosophy, grow those younger players. He has the experiences, right? He's gone through everything. He's done practically everything, right? So I think that was the play behind Dani Alves. I'd love to see Rudiger come. I don't see that possible, right?
I think Christensen is the better option for you guys right now, because even if you get a Christensen is one of the lowest paid players at Chelsea. He only gets 70 to 80K a week. If you're at Barca and you can somehow offer him 120, and he's happy, and you get a phenomenal center back, I think that's golden for you guys. No worries there.
It just my thought here is, once again, how many people can we attract now if we're out of the Champions League?
Well, I mean,
especially if Chelsea fights for it.
You still have Europa League, and I think Christensen, he's constantly either a number one or sits on the bench for no reason. So for him, if he's not going to get what he wants in wages, and he's not going to feel like he's appreciated at the club, then I don't think he would mind spending a season at Barcelona, helping them fix up their issues, and then trying to get that success with them. Because he knows, in players of the past, right, if you're a good player for Barcelona and you play well, you'll get the minutes and you'll get recognized, right? Barcelona, even though they're not what they're used to be, it's the same argument with United. United isn't United of the past, but they're still a popular club and a really big club too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what you said earlier about, people, like, we've been convincing people to come by paying them exorbitant amount of money, right? A lot more than what they would typically get from other clubs. So that's how we convince them. But I think we have to go back and say, hey, we're FC Barcelona. We're one of the best teams in the history of the sport, right? Obviously, we had our moment just like every other top football club there too, right? So I think it goes back to trying to make our players or future players, or and when we're having these talks with possible new signings, to say, hey, you're going to be playing for FC Barcelona, right? And bring that pride back, similar to like how Manchester United, like when Sir Alex Ferguson left, to me, he's the GOAT manager ever. And I'm biased, Barca, obviously Pep Guardiola. Still, Saf is the GOAT to me. When he left, it was a huge hole. And, Man U still hasn't been the same, but they're getting there. They've improved significantly.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it goes back to us, instead of overly paying, maybe it's time for us to say, hey, you should be prideful to be playing for this club. But I mean, like, if we can get a great signing to strengthen our defense, that'd be great also. I think Lenglet has to go at this point, right?
I don't know. I'm 50-50 because I like seeing him play in that defense. I think him and Araujo, from what I've seen so far, have had a decent partnership, and I rate him more than a
Gerard Piqué.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but he's washed. He should just be at home and enjoy his beautiful wife and his beautiful family and just relax, I'm not gonna lie. If I had Shakira waiting for me at home and had any excuse to retire, by all means, be the breadwinner, be my sugar mama. Let's have a great life together.
I'm sure they don't need the money. That's for sure.
Yeah, Piqué made so much money off Barcelona. She's made God knows how much money off of her album sales. Good for her. Beautiful woman, beautiful family. That's what I'm saying. Like, for a Piqué, he's just like, kudos to him. He still has respect and love for the game, but like I said, if I had Shakira waiting for me at home, I'd retire at any moment. Did not care, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if in a real world, if we can get a Rudiger, then I'd have Rudiger and Araujo, right? But like as our starters, and then if we want to keep Gerard Piqué, obviously El Presidente, then we keep him on the bench to like help the younger players, right? And to season them and get them ready. To basically pass the torch to them, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's why,
because Xavi's gonna need these kind of players in his locker room when the going gets tough.
Yeah, that's why I also mentioned players like a Christensen or like a Mazraoui, good defensive options that you guys might still need. Now going to the midfield, you have three good options in my opinion for what you might need. Tolisso, I think he's just been unfortunate with the With the great performances of Kimmich going from being one of the best right backs to being one of the best center mids, right?
Kimmich is such a smart player. Fantastic.
Tolisso just couldn't get a break. Poor guy, you know?
Yeah.
So I think he's a great option. Someone who could fit into that Barca team well, who could play more defensive, give De Jong or Gavi or Pedri, whoever it is, that more freedom to do more creativity to help the attack. Or if you want a CDM to replace Sergio Busquets, who I think was a little bit overrated, guys.
First Jorginho, now Busquets.
Okay, no, I'm not doing this argument with you. I am only arguing with Besmer about this. No one else. Okay, so Sergio Busquets as a replacement. I think Kessie or Kessie, however you pronounce it, from AC Milan. He's up on a contract for contract renewal. You can get him on a pre-contract in January. I think he would be a phenomenal option for Barcelona, in my opinion, because he's still a foreign player, so there is still that issue, but he doesn't touch or scathe the South American clause whatsoever.
Yeah.
He can still be brought in. I don't think his wages would be crazy. He's a phenomenal CDM. Like, I'd want him for Manchester United. I wish United would get him, but I think if Barcelona comes into play, it might be a good option for him to go there too. So, and then my other option is if you want someone who's more attacking, more of a cam, someone who is really good in the press. That's why one thing I think Barcelona misses, someone who knows the tiki-taka type of football, but who's really good at pressing in the front. I think that's a Jesse Lingard for you guys. I know, hot take. Guys, no one rates Jesse Lingard like I do. I know. But listen, we saw what he could do for West Ham. He was absolutely phenomenal for them. He had one of the best 6 months of his career ever with how well he played for West Ham, doing what he did. And sadly at United, he just can't get minutes because how do you start over Bruno Fernandes or a Mason Greenwood or a Cristiano Ronaldo or a Marcus Rashford? Like, Martial's even getting minutes. How are you going to get minutes? You know, so it's very tough for him. And I feel bad that he can't get minutes. I think he starts for any other top Premier League side, for any top side in Europe would love to have him.
Yeah, I mean, the midfield is a little tricky, and that has always been a very hard topic for Barca, only because, like, we've just been able to get top midfielders, and, like, obviously when Xavi left and, you know, Iniesta, we were like, hey, who can we get to replace them? But you can never, right?
No.
Similar to how Manchester United, Paul Scholes, right?
Yeah, no.
You can't, right?
Even Xavi and Iniesta said that's one of the best midfielders they've ever come up against.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've played against the likes of, like, Zidane, Mikel Essien, Mikel. that one's for you, Besmer. Shout out, Besmer. No, but they've played the best of the best, right, of all their career, and the fact that they say Paul Scholes is up there, I mean, that just goes to show how hard it is to replace someone like him.
Yeah, so, like, you know, we can't get the next Xavi, we can't get the next Iniesta, right? So the goal should be the next star, right? That's why, like, you know, Pedri or Gavi, or, you know, I'd like to see Nico get more playing time, you know. I don't call them the next holy trinity, you know, of the Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets, right? I just call that the next thing.
The next wave of players.
Let them be them. I know this August, right, Ansu Fati got the number 10 jersey, and a lot of people were super happy, and a lot of people were like, hey, he's not ready.
It was the same thing with Rashford when he got the number 10, right? It's like, last person who had it was Wayne Rooney. Do you think he's on that same level? So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Fati.
so, yeah, and, like, I don't call Ansu Fati the next Messi. Just call him the next Ansu Fati, right? Let him be him.
The next good player for Barcelona.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Let him be the next number 10.
People forget it wasn't always a Leo Messi.
No.
It was a Ronaldinho. It was even Brazilian Ronaldo. It was Zlatan. It was Henry. It was Samuel Eto'o. Yeah. It was Alexis Sanchez, David Villa, you name it. There's always been
the Luis Suarez, Neymar, we always had.
There's always been good players. So I don't think they should be held to a certain standard of another player. So
I mean, also, like, I think I agree in terms of we need someone or some people to press more, right? Mm-hmm. That was the Pep Guardiola way. We hold the ball,
and that's why I suggested a Jesse Lingard, because like, he's good with the ball at his feet. I think his dribbling ability is phenomenal. I think it's severely underrated, because I don't think anyone remembers that Leicester goal he had where he literally dribbled through half of the team. And this is Leicester that just won the Premier League. like when they had just dominated the league when everyone else was like not that great, but still.
Yeah.
Jesse Lingard got through that whole entire team just like a ballerina, just dancing around, boom, boom, into the goal. He even had a few great dribbling goals against Arsenal. Like, it just goes to show that he is good with the ball at his feet, which is what Barcelona wants, and he can press phenomenally. Like, that's the one that's like his one
Huge.
that's the one thing that managers love about him, which is why every time there's a new manager that comes in, they always consider him and they always want him, is because he can press at the front, and that's what every manager would ideally love from a player, right?
Yeah, I mean, Barca, without a doubt, is always known to take possession of the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not many teams don't challenge us for possession, right? That's just the Barcelona way, right? But the issue is when you lose the ball, we need the players to press hard, to recover the ball, right? Because we play up high. So the counterattacks, Real Madrid, Jose Mourinho's Real Madrid was notorious for this, is to catch us on the counter with the likes of Benzema, Gareth Bale, the Gareth Bale legendary goal against us when he outpaced Mark Bartra, right?
That he literally gets pushed outside, is like doing a whole entire like you run, outpaces him, gets on, dude,
to win the final. And then you're also talking about the likes of a Cristiano Ronaldo. Any team that has fast players can counter us really good if we don't press and win the ball back right away, right? So we not only need players that press, but that have the pace, and that's why Jordi Alba's great. Is because sure he can play up top high, but then he can also make those quick runs back.
Yeah, for sure. And then for the attack for free transfer, now I've had 3 options written down. I have the young option. I have the not old, but like
middle.
He's in like the range of like 20 to 26. I have someone who is just number 9, will just try to score goals, does nothing else. But then I also have a vetted, well-known player who I think fits the Barcelona way.
Let's hear him.
So, I have Nketiah from Arsenal. I think if you want to go young, you want someone on the bench who can rotate with Depay, or someone to sub on every once in a while to help out Depay. Nketiah, I think, is a good player. He can be a finisher. I think Arsenal are going to want to capitalize on some money back because they just dropped 150 million this past window just to help fix up the team a little bit, and they're going to want strikers. And I don't think they really rate Nketiah that much. So I think if Barcelona can sweep in for him and get that advantage, then by all means go do it. And then I have a Kramaric from the Bundesliga. I like Kramaric a lot. I think he's just an out and out really good player. I think he can do really well. So I would say a Kramaric would just be your solid number 9 and would just like slap it out of the park. Do really well.
I mean, I think that and sorry, go on.
I say, do you want to hear my third option first?
Yeah.
Or
Let's hear the third option
the
first.
The third option is someone who sadly squandered their career at Juventus.
No, I think I know who this is.
Paulo Dybala.
Yes.
I think he would be the perfect fit for that Barcelona attack. If you have him and Depay up top, and you have maybe a Fati or a Dembele, whoever you want, just to help them out a little bit, I think they're okay. They don't have to worry about anything.
I agree. I mean, Nketiah is a good player, young player, which I think, if we can get for a good price, right? I mean, Arsenal has a leverage.
But don't forget, this is the free transfer section.
But I mean, like,
he's gonna be up for contract talks in January.
Correct. So, like, I mean, like, in terms of Arsenal, like, they have the leverage. They're not in a financial rut right now, right? And they're also dealing with other. I'm sure his agent is getting blasted in terms of like, hey, top football clubs or even not middle-sized clubs that have that are able to pay more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get him locked him down and at a good wage price, then I think that'll just bolster the bench or just the depth, right? You also need competition in the squads for any football club out there, right?
If a Fati and Nketiah comes in who could do what he can do as a winger and a striker, I think it would help the team drastically because it happened with Luke Shaw, right? As soon as Manchester United brings in Alex Telles, who's a great left back in my opinion, when he played in the I'm forgetting the name of the Portuguese league. Why? This is gonna tick
Is it
me.
like a Liga 1 or something?
No, it's
Liga 1 is French league.
Yeah, Liga 1's French team. Dude, this is gonna tick me all day, and then when I remember it later on, I'll be so angry after the podcast. It's gonna be so annoying. But anyways, he played in Portugal, did really well. And I've known him to be a very solid player. So as soon as he came into United, Luke Shaw went supernova, right?
Yeah.
He's had probably the best season he's ever had by far. And I think this Barcelona team, they need competition within themselves 100%. To be playing more.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I think when it was under Koeman and even end of last season, beginning of this season, Barca. I mean, it was rumored, so obviously I don't know 100%, but they were training like a quarter of what every other big football club was, right? Mm-hmm. The famous Aguero quote was like, "They don't even have electricity," right? Like as a joke kind of thing. But so we weren't as competitive with one another because why would you, right? The starting 11 was kind of obvious. And the depth, there's a huge gap between the young talent and the starting 11 we had last season, right? So we need everyone's position to be to have competition, right? So that it's a friendly a battle between the 2-3 players in that specific position, and then that'll help the team as a whole. We don't have a Messi anymore to, hey, he'll fix all the problems, or hey, he's the go-to guy. We don't have a go-to guy anymore, right? Sure, you can probably lean to like Frankie de Jong and like, Depay and like, a couple of the veterans, but we don't have a guy, give him the ball and he'll do it all for you anymore. Mm-hmm. Dribble through 3 people or guarantee at least 30 plus goals a season, dozens of different assists, and just be man marked 2 to 3 times, right? Real Madrid didn't have that guy anymore after Ronaldo left, but they were able to kind of make it work, right? I'm gonna butcher his name. It's like Vinicius or something like Vinicius that. Junior. He's been doing really, really good. Very young talent, right? Benzema has picked it up a lot. So like, sure, Real will always miss Ronaldo. Juve will always. Manchester United had missed Ronaldo for years, right?
I mean, I don't want to say anything too controversial, but we're missing him right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into that now.
All I'm going to say.
I'm not going to get into that now, but like, these are the players, Real was able to pick up the slack, and like, Real doesn't even have a go-to guy anymore. They have go-to teams, right? And that's what we need. So, and Kenta like that would be great because, Ansu Fati, what if he gets hurt, right? Then what are we going to do? We're going to pull up a Barca B squad player that isn't ready for the limelight yet, right? For that spot right now.
Yeah, at least someone who's had the, some Premier League experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the Carabao Cup
and played at a big club.
Because, like, no offense to the La Liga or some of the B-side teams, but the competition there is way different than the Premier League expectations for competition, right? That's the one credit you can give to these young players sometimes, is that they're playing in very stressful environments of, like, I'm a young guy, this is my time to shine, in comparison to sometimes, well, La Liga can give to you, So I think when you go for looking for a player and you see a young Premier League guy available, I don't think it's a bad option to have.
Yeah, and I mean, it also just puts a light under Ansu Fati, right? Like a fire under him, to say, hey, like, if you don't perform right,
we have this guy.
And like, that's just a healthy competition, right? Yeah. Like, I have nothing against Ansu Fati, and I think he's a great talent, but like, what I would like to see is avoid us being complacent, right? With our players being complacent, saying, hey, I know what I'm going to have the spot 100%. So why train as much, right? Yeah. Who else are they going to turn to? And then once we find that person, then Ansu Fati and everyone else can be like, oh, like, if I don't do good in training, or if I don't do good in this match, like, I could lose my starting spot. Mm-hmm. And then Paulo Dybala, like, he's a great player. And I agree. I think, like, I don't know what exactly happened to him with Juve and all of that.
It was injuries and then managers coming in and out, and then...
But even in Argentina's squad, like, he never even played.
Well, Argentina, it's tough, right? Like, the attacking pool is always tough to get yourself in because Messi's guaranteed one spot.
Yeah.
Aguero was guaranteed one spot, so usually...
I mean, you have Di Maria now, too.
And then Di Maria always
who's been vital. I mean, I think the Argentina squad now has picked it up. As much as I'm a Messi fan, I don't see them winning the World Cup.
No.
Great dub on the Copa America, but I was always shocked to not see Dybala be a bigger part, and especially because he was so young, and I mean he's still not old.
Well, I think he's like 28, almost 29 now. Like he's getting up there. He went from a young kid in Palermo, finally making a name for himself, to just letting his life waste away at Juventus. In my opinion, his career is just.
I mean, I would love to see Dybala come to the team as well, right?
And like I said, he's available for a free transfer. So even if money is an issue right now for Barca, that's the thing right now. So let's look at this. If let's say you're in charge of the board, you're picking the transfers, and you guys didn't buy Ferran Torres because you were thinking smart, who do you go for out of everybody? Do you go for only the ones with money, or the free transfers, or do you mix it up? Who is your list of players you're bringing in out of what I just told you?
That's hard, only because like we also have to realize that free transfer or not, we still have a wage cap, right?
Yeah.
To register any of these players.
But that's why, like, for example...
So a successful sale of all the players we've listed would free us up a lot of space, assuming we don't absorb some of the wage costs, right? I'd like to get a Nketiah and a Dybala up top, right? Maybe a Lingard. I don't know if he'd be able to start in the middle, like, because my like I said, I would like to see. That's the thing,
right? It's like, I think Lingard gives you more options of whether he's a cam, a right wing, plays. He could play box to box if he needs to. He's a good option, and I think he can find a starting spot there easily. Because even if you have a Frankie De Jong who's going to be more advanced, a Pedri who maybe plays behind them, and you have a Lingard in that midfield, I think the team benefits a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd like to see, and I think Xavi's the right guy for this, is more of our Lama side. There was at points where our starting 11 a couple years ago, when I think it was under either Luis Enrique or Pep Guardiola, around that time, was all La Masia products.
Yeah, but I think you need to give that time, and for now,
correct,
bring in certain players who will help out the team, and even for some of the young guys coming in who will help them out. Because don't forget, Jesse Lingard, he knows what it's like. He went from being a youth academy player to a starting player for Manchester United to being an international player, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're from Spain, if they're from South America. Wherever these players are from, these players can relate to. That's what matters the most.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get off my Jesse Lingard agenda. All right. I'll leave it there.
Also, Tolisso, playing at Bayern is no small feat, right?
Oh yeah. If you're good enough for Bayern, you're good enough.
Yeah,
for
exactly. And he has that press mentality. And he can press.
The only reason why he got out, he's getting benched by Goretzka, because Goretzka went from being a stick to.
Yeah, but that's with Bayern.
Have you seen the pictures lately?
That's Bayern.
He's one fit man.
Have you seen the pictures of Lewandowski a couple years ago?
I know. I think Bayern is putting some drugs into their food and just getting their players just jacked.
The season before and the season after, as they're getting ready in the summertime, these players are just really, really well maintained, and they're doing kudos to Bayern. They know how to do it. Tolisso, I think, he has the press mentality. Bayern does it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How old is he? I don't know if he's even that old.
I think he's in the 26 range.
Yeah, so he's a perfect, I guess you can put him next to Frankie De Jong, right? I haven't watched too much of Bayern, so to understand Tolisso, how he plays.
I'm just gonna say my list for you one more time. Just so I'm gonna give you a list of players.
Yep.
So out of the players with money, who would you take? So there's defense: Mark Gahey, Verissimo, Chao Henrique. Midfield: Kamara. Attack: Simeone or Martial. For free transfer, you have the option of Rudiger, Christensen, Mazraoui. Midfield, you have the option of Tolisso, Kessié, and Lingard. Attack, you have the option of Nketiah, Kramaric, or Dybala.
Rudiger 100%. That would be my number one on that list. That both buy and free. The list that you just gave.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
I know that's not realistic.
So I want you to pick one defender, one midfielder, one attacker from all the lists combined. Got
you. So I'd do a Rudiger in defense. I'd go with Tolisso in midfield.
Okay.
And then, I don't know if he'll fit, but Dybala. I think he's such a great talent. Might not fit the Barca way, but Coutinho, look at him, great talent.
But that's the thing. I think he fits the Barca way.
I think so. I mean, see, I'm too hesitant in the beginning to say that.
I think Dybala and Coutinho both fit the way.
It's just we don't manage them well.
They weren't used right.
Correct. Because Fabregas fits Barca's way.
You're not starting over Xavi or Iniesta.
Exactly, and we are putting him in Messi's position, and no offense to Fabregas, but he's not Messi, right?
No.
And that's not his position. And you saw at Chelsea, what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
And even without Chelsea, you've seen what he's done in Arsenal and in other areas.
For sure.
So yeah, I'd go with those three. I mean, we're also missing a huge part here, which I don't know how I feel on this, but there's huge talks on Haaland, right?
Okay. Look,
I just don't see that happening,
wrong,
though.
It's not happening because
I don't.
It's either going to be
That's
a
like
Bayern.
$85 million.
No, listen. No, it's not even about the money. It's either going to be a Bayern or a City getting him. You guys are not in the running.
I mean, Real is.
Real's not in the running. I'm sorry. Look, I think we have to get to this point where we live in this. You and I and some of us older guys, we live in this mindset of still thinking that Barca and Real are these giants, but these players now they're like City, Bayern, like PSG.
PSG's running.
They're better options. For
the issue here is Bayern is notorious for not spending money.
They spend if they want to.
Unless it's on a free transfer, right? Like Bayern plays it very, very smart. You're not going to see them buying $100 million on one player only, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they got another Dortmund player, right? So I totally don't cancel that out. I know there's huge rumors that our president is very close with Haaland's agent.
Yep. So just to wrap this up, guys, real quick, I'm just gonna say, Grant, thank you for coming. I really appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
Having you on. And guys, next episode, we're gonna be talking about Liverpool, and that's all I'm gonna leave it at. There's gonna be somebody on who I've been debating on bringing on for a while, but I'm gonna expose you guys to him.
Definitely going to be the most exciting podcast.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I might have like a whole audience behind the camera just watching. They're gonna be like,
much needed live audience.
They're gonna antagonize 100%. So I'll see you guys next week. Grant, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys take our words of wisdom for Barca and think they fix it well. So I'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you.
Peace. You had fun, yeah?